Hey guys, it's Georgiana. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about numerology. Numerology is basically the belief in numbers giving you more information than just, being a 1 or being a 2. It's the belief in the divine mystical relationship between numbers and their coinciding events. So it's also the study of numerical values of like letters, words, names, and that's kind of at the root of the idea. But you can use numerology for so many things. And, a lot of people kind of associate it with the paranormal, astrology, and things like that. But it's actually had a really long history. Pythagoras used it, and we have writings and examples from 1591. Now, the actual word numerology is relatively a new word. The basic concept is the same. So if you think that numerology is a brand new thing, it's not. It was used for thousands of years. Some have not really been introduced to numerology yet, but now that a lot of us are seeing like 111 or 1111, we're starting to maybe dig a little bit more into that. And so I thought this would be a really great video just to give you guys some more information and have you start out on your path in numerology. So the first thing we need to talk about is numbers. And just like anything, numbers hold frequency. So let's talk about frequency, let's talk about energy, okay? Energy is in everything. Everything is energy. We are energy. We are from source. Your laptop gives off energy. The wooden library table gives off energy, is part of a living tree. Everything is energy. When you think of everything giving off energy, that energy vibrates because everything vibrates. So if you're familiar with the water experiments, and I will put the dude's name below, he did this amazing experiment with rice where you would have three different he put rice in three different waters, all the same. One he just left, one he said really mean things to, and one he said really nice things to. And it showed that the frequency coming out of the words that he was saying in the water actually changed the rice. So the one that he didn't say much to, it took a little bit longer, but it just kind of stayed normal, and then it kind of started molding. The one that he would say really mean things to molded pretty quickly, and then the one that he said really nice things to, that he loved it and really wonderful things, it actually started to sprout. So I think there's a lot to be said about the energy that we give off and the frequency. So another great example to look at frequency at the basic core is this. So like when you get out of bed and you start to have a bad day, from the morning, and everything the rest of the day just doesn't go right. It's just crappy. And you think, God, I had a really bad day today. What the heck? This is the way frequency works, okay? So when you start having your bad day in the morning, right, that energy carries a vibration. That vibration vibrates at a certain frequency. So you're going to attract more of that same vibration and more of that same frequency. Let's start from the other side of it. If you get up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, you're doing really awesome, you are giving out a different frequency. Your frequency is a higher frequency, and so you will attract more things on that frequency. This is the basis of numerology, and it sounds pretty crazy, but every single number, like 1111, when you say that, it has a specific frequency that it vibrates at. And so this is a really great way to get information from, your higher self, your team, your guides, and do it in such a way where all you need to do is kind of be aware of the numbers in your life. So then you may say, well, where would I even start looking for these numbers? Numbers are everywhere. I work from home, so I don't see like tons of license plates, but you can look at license plates. You can look at your phone the numbers on your phone, the time. You can look at, exit ramps, things like that, just everything. For example, I have a couple Etsy shops, and when we get our stats, I'm always looking at the numbers. And a lot of times for me, the numbers are repetitive. So for example, the new numbers that I've been seeing lately is 999, 999. Or it doesn't just have to be like 3 numbers. It could just be repetitive numbers like 12. You see 12 all the time. You could see, 716 all the time. And all those numbers have a frequency which can be translated into a message. Previously, a couple years ago, it was a little bit harder to figure out what those messages were. But thanks to people like Doreen Virtue, who works a lot with angels and angel energy, she put together a book with numbers. So if you don't want to do the whole traditional method of numerology, you can look up Doreen Virtue's book. And I think here is some really great books that should give you kind of a start into the whole numerology. This one right here, the angel numbers, I use this one constantly. This will really help you get into the whole concept of looking up your numbers. And it's really nice. It's small, it's pocket size. I don't really carry it with me, but I do kind of keep it around, keep it really handy. So the numbers that I've been seeing lately have been 999. And 999 says it's a message signifying completion of an important chapter in your life. And now it's time to get to work without procrastination on your next life chapter. And this number sequence is like an alarm clock ringing loudly in order to jolt you into working on your life purpose. And if you're in tune with self, and you pay attention to your feelings, what your body's feeling, what your mind has been thinking, you are usually good to go. But it's really nice to have those numbers come up, and then you look up the number and you're like, oh, that's great. That's a really great confirmation. That's what I've been kind of feeling. Other ways to use numbers and their frequency would be in things like, if you guys do like the whole tarot thing. I was really never big into like the traditional tarot. I don't know if you guys knew this, but it was actually a game at one point. It wasn't actually like a fortune telling thing. But okay, so these are my Nefertari cards, and I do use these every once in a while. So when you're giving your readings or doing your readings for yourself, don't forget to look at that number. Let's say you have like, that's kind of funny that they're like this, 789 that pop up in the deck. Definitely look up the one number coinciding with what place the card is in. If it's in like present situation, look up that number in regards to your present situation. But in the end of your reading, feel free to look for all your numbers. So if I did a 3-card reading, this would be 789. So then I could look up my 789 in this book. And it says, continue moving in the direction you're going with respect to your career, spiritual path, and divine mission. You'll be fully supported along the way. This is a really great example of how to use your oracle cards or your tarot cards in the same manner. And some of you might be saying, well, do I look up just the one number? Do I look up, how many numbers can you put together? You can put it together however you feel like putting it together. There is no right or wrong way. The energy and frequency there will not let you make a mistake because it's all on the same path. So if you wanted to lay that out as 789, look that up. If you wanted to add them together as 7 plus 8 plus 9, and look that up, and you could still reduce it. So there's a lot of factors of numerology, but don't get too messed up or don't get too hung up on those factors. What do I do? Do I add them together? Do I keep them separate? Do it all. Look it all up. And if it resonates with you, that's great. If it doesn't, leave it alone. This is another deck that we use quite often. It's relatively new, but I think this is a good one too, because these have numbers on, and it's not just so you can find the card. Like, you should actually be looking up the numbers. So this is 43, And so look up the number 43. You can do it on the computer, you can do it on your phone. There's also other types of booklets available, not just dealing with angels, but dealing with the general numerology. You can also add those together. So 4 plus 3 is 4, 5, 6, 7. So then you can look up the number 7. And usually if you bring it down to its lowest number, it will still resonate with the big number. One of the other books that I have found really helpful when I do readings, and even though it's called Secrets of the Tarot, you know, I do use it when I use the tarot, but you can use it for others as well, because when you look up the sixes, it gives you information on that number, and that has been really helpful. Usually, you know, by now, because I do it so often, I can recall like what an 8 is, or I can recall what a 6 is, and you can kind of combine it with your angel numbers. So especially for those of us who have clear knowing, I think sometimes it's really hard to believe in yourself, or believe that the information that you're getting is actually divine information, or you know, information from your teams, because some people, you know, that have clear hearing can actually hear them talk. Like my friend Ruth has clear hearing, and she can actually hear them talk. Every once in a while that pops in for me. I'm still working on it. That's an update that I haven't got yet. It's hard when you have to look for other signs from your team and your guide and your higher self, and this is a really great way to do it. So use the numerology to give you confirmation that the things you've been thinking, or the things that you've been feeling, are indeed, you know, exactly. It's not just you making this up. It's actually your higher self talking to you. It's your teams and your guides. That's another great way to use numerology. You need to rely on numbers and symbols and signs. So this is another really great book that I use. Obviously you can see I don't use it as much as some of the other books, but it's got a lot of examples of different symbols, like tea leaf reading, if you're not familiar with that. I love tea leaf reading. Maybe someday we can get into that. Everything is in here, including numbers. And what I like about this one is that it doesn't just give you a little bit of information on that number, it goes into quite a bit of information on all different levels. When you finally kind of got a hold of numerology, helping you kind of clear up the confusion and helping you get that validation that you are on the right path, or the things that you've been thinking are correct, then you can start with cooking. Because cooking is another way you can use numerology. You can use it in such a way where, if you remember that numbers have a specific vibration, okay? Your fruit and vegetables have a specific vibration. So if you get fruit and vegetables that are laden with chemicals and things like that, they're gonna have a lower vibration or a lower frequency than those that are organic and, you know, freshly picked and raw and things like that. So when they talk about what you get, what your body becomes is what you put into it, that's so true. And it's all based on vibration and frequency. So everything is related. And in this way, you can think of your name. Okay, you can think of your first name, your middle name, and your last name. You can think of your birth date. All these numbers, they all tell a story of you. So for example, if you wanted to know more about your life path, you could look up your life path numbers, and those are based on the date in which you were born. All right, so you would add them together. Now, when you get single numbers, that's really easy because you're just adding the single numbers together. Treat every number as if it was a single number, and that will help you. So whether you're born in, you know, 1908 or 1994 or 1980, treat those as single numbers. So it would be 19, so it'd be 1, 9, you know, 9 plus 1 is 10. And then you have the 8 and the 0, and 1 plus 8 is 9. So that breaks down to a 9. So you can add those up together, get your life path numbers, look into it if you're not familiar with it. Your expression or your destiny numbers, you can do that with your full birth name. like your soul number or your heart desire number. You can do that with the vowels in your name. There's so many things you can do, and it's just really fun. Like, even if you're not using it on a day-to-day basis, it's kind of fun to just sit down and see if you can figure it out. And then after you start seeing the signs of repeating numbers, it will sort of guide you and give you clarity. And that's how I use numerology. I always look at our stats of our Etsy shop, and it always seems like, you know, by knowing what those numbers are, I have a better idea of the general outlook of things. Of 6, 17, 1976. You're going to separate each number to make it a single digit and add a plus in between it. And then you're going to add them together. So 7 plus 1 is 8. So now you can take 6 plus 8 and you want to add 1976 together. 9 plus 1 is 10. 7 plus 6, 13. Alright, so now you're going to add 3 plus 1 is 4. So 1 plus 0 is 1, and 1 plus 4 is 5. So you have 6 plus 8, would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 is 5. And then you're bringing down your 5. Okay, so now when you get to this number, okay, so when you get to this number right here, the 10 number, you can leave it as a 10 and look up the 10, or you can also do 1 plus 0. If we're gonna just do the 1 first, 1 is a very powerful number. It's linked to beginnings. So if I was starting a new business, or if I was, you know, if I was doing something new, I'd be like, oh yeah, this really resonates. 1 is a first masculine number and relating to the sun. Remember how I said the sun is always masculine and the moon is feminine? And it is in the astrological sign of Leo. So it goes into personality number, someone who is powerful personality. So you can see how this would help you with your readings, and how this would also help you with day-to-day stuff. Your destiny number, if it's a 1, says this is someone who has to go her own way. She wants to be a leader, not a follower. She is a pioneer, an innovator, regardless of what other people might think about her chosen path. She's single-minded, ambitious, and determined. So for us here, it would be 10s right here. 10 is a number of completion and marks the end of a cycle and the beginning of another, bringing the wisdom and experiences that we have gained through the previous cycle. In the way in which the cards reflect differs. So this is a great way to do it. Now let's just look up the angel numbers, and we can kind of see how everything is falling through on a very similar path. So number 10, the divine wants you to hold positive thoughts about the situation as everything is working out for your highest good. Call upon God to help you stay optimistic, because your thoughts are an influencing factor in the outcome. And how ironic is that this came up when we're talking about frequency today, and how energy, frequency, and numerology all combine. So it's very, very true. Thoughts equal things, so you want to always have your thoughts on the highest level possible. If something is not working out, don't think about how it's not working out and how everything is ruined. Instead, think about, you know, the new beginnings that this will entails. Think about how you're going to go at it a different way to solve the problem. You know, think about the highest good. And that is the whole deal with numerology. The numbers translate into frequency when you say them, when you think them. So the frequency then translates into a message for you. So let's just see what 1 says. 1 says, stay positive. Everything you're thinking about right now is coming true, so be sure that you're only thinking about what you desire. There you go. Now you can see how even if you leave it at the 10, or if you take it down to the 1, you're still getting a message that coincides with the whole vibration or frequency of the 1 and the 0. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll have a lot of other topics coming up. Let me know what topics you guys want to talk about. I am more than willing to do that. And take care.